Germans were outnumbered in every major battle of the Second World War 4-1. They had no natural resources except what they could steal, which is not a good way to conduct a military campaign. The idea was to give them the maximum freedom to destroy other cultures, religions, peoples before that was brought to a close. And you would say, well, we've moved one step closer to this moment when people finally say, oh, for God's sake, give us a one-world government. So there are little riffs and essays that all by themselves are surpassingly brilliant. For example, his riff on weaponry is simply this, that nowhere in the history of the world has there ever been freedom except where the ordinary people are armed. And he said, where they're armed equivalent to the government, he said, you have the greatest freedom. He said, but where they're disarmed, you have none except possibly the appearance of freedom. Of course, Hitler's very first act in office was to make owning weapons illegal. Anyway, so Tragedy and Hope gives you a whole different context with which to evaluate things. Intelligence and principle are two enemies of management. First of all, confronting intelligence and self-reliance, management is faced with this awful situation that whatever they set out to do possibly could be done better by someone else, but they can't do anything unless they assemble capital. And the people who have capital to loan, they want to guarantee they're close to it, they're going to get their money back. And so that's called the overproduction cause of schooling. And then the other major, so you're going to kill overproduction by removing the productive capacity from most of the people through schooling. The other main reason is called hyperdemocracy. If democracy actually is treated as a real quantity, then the future's unpredictable. And yet you can't have a social order that's stabilized through social classes unless you can predict the future. So you also school in order to make democracy an abstraction rather than a reality.
That's brilliant. In your lifetime so far, with everything you've been through, all your teaching, all your publications, this project that you've set forth, and also the fourth purpose, the documentary series that you are gearing up to deliver. If you could blink your eyes and 60 million kids were free from standardized testing, don't you think that teachers are not going to know what to do with them?
Well, that's a great supposition. As things stand now, yes. How about imposing a requirement, which I imposed on myself 30 years ago, of never doing anything at all in the classroom without explaining why we're doing this, or allowing the kids at any juncture to say, why are we doing this? And I would say to the kids, if I can't explain to your satisfaction why we're doing something, as long as your mother agrees, you are free to do anything else that we all agree has some chance to be useful to you. I mean, you can't sit in the stairwell and smoke, but you can do other things. It worked really like a charm, and it's a great discipline for school teachers listening. You can upgrade the quality of what you do simply by not doing anything without asking yourself, why are we doing this? Now, many times the answer may well be, I don't have a choice. I have to do this, or I'll get in trouble or be fired. In which case, tell the kids that. Kids have this infallible crap detector. You know, they know if you level with them all the time, you're going to have a much, much easier time because you're treating them with respect. Now, the only thing that trumps the school demands I do this, and I learned this through grueling practice, is if a mother can screw up her courage and boldly say, I would prefer my son not do that, we'll have to find a substitute. I don't believe there's a school in the country that would waste the effort trying to squelch that person. I've just seen it happen over and over again. It took years, Kim. I would see it happen on a regular basis with upper middle class parents in the school administration. And suddenly it dawned on me to collect those experiences and say, well, why isn't that right if this is the United States we hope it would try to be? Why wouldn't that be anybody's right to do? So, I mean, maybe we can't all take our kids to the Mediterranean in December, but we sure as the devil can find substitutes for that are worthier than copying notes off a board and taking a standardized test. They're all over. And once we got a dialogue going about this, I mean, it's amazing. I'm not the wisest person in the world. With a group of heads thinking in the same direction, we would end up with a menu of choices much greater than anybody could feast on in one lifetime.
You haven't lost any of your passion, have you?
Well, I'm a little warier, but as time grows short, you know, I grew up during the Second World War, and you got a crack over the head if you didn't eat everything on your plate because the little children in Europe were starving. Now, whether that was so or not, I don't know, but it became an ingrained habit in me to despise waste. And when I see the waste of these lives, I say, are we nuts? Are we out of our minds? Read Ben Franklin's autobiography, and you will see what a society's like where kids of all ages are mixed in with the business of the world. It's dazzling, and it dazzled the rest of the planet, and I think we could bit by bit get there again. Certainly the homeschoolers are starting. They've taken more than the first step in that direction.
It's so exciting to listen to you and to talk with you. John Taylor Gatto, thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you, Kim.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking with, learning from, and listening to John Taylor Gatto. He is the author of Dumbing Us Down, the Curriculum of Compulsory Schooling, The Underground History of the American Education, and Weapons of Mass Instruction. A school teacher's journey through the dark world of compulsory schooling. He is also producing and involved in a documentary series called The Fourth Purpose. It is my great honor to have you on. God bless you. Thank you so much.
God bless you, Kim, and take care of California. Bye now.